Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're revisiting something that's been a part of the show since almost the very beginning, being the queen of your brain domain. Let's go. Welcome back to the Women in the Middle podcast with over 2 million downloads and counting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach, midlife life leadership mentor, and certified Zentangle teacher, and I am really glad that you're here for this one. Now, you've heard me say it at the end of almost every episode for years. And back in episode 153, which is over 5 years ago, I did a whole episode on what it actually means. That was a while ago because the podcast started in July 2017. Now, I've been sitting with this concept lately because I think I understand it differently now. More specifically, in a way that connects directly to everything we've been talking about, especially in recent episodes. So today, my friend, we're doing an upgrade. Now, if you've been around for a while, you might actually remember listening to 153 live, like when it first came out. That's where I first explained the queen of your brain domain concept, and the foundation of it was this. You're not your thoughts. You can learn to watch your thoughts. You can learn to think on purpose and take responsibilities for your feelings and your results, the outcomes you create in the world. Now, that work is real. It's foundational. It still matters. Now, I also talked about the tiara, which is honestly where the whole queen idea started. I turned 50. I felt compelled to wear a tiara. Maybe this happened for you too. It's like a 50th birthday thing. And something about that clicked. The idea of being the ruler of your own thinking, the CEO of your mind. I still love that image, and I still wear that tiara. My birthday's coming up. I'll be wearing it again. But here's what's changed. I've come to see that you can do all of that work, the awareness, the thought management, the responsibility, and still be missing something. Because all of that is about your thinking. And what I see now working with women every day is that the bigger issue isn't just what we're thinking, it's also what we're noticing. Now, here's a personal example of what I mean. A little while ago, I realized that 3 years had gone by since the last time I'd visited a close senior relative. 3 years! And when that landed, when I actually let myself look at it, I was genuinely shocked. Time was just flying by. I'm someone who cares deeply about the people in my life, and yet life had kept moving, and I had kept moving with it, and somehow in a blink, 3 years had just gone by, but they also just accumulated. That's coasting. It was more like it happened by default while I wasn't fully paying attention. Yeah, for 3 years. And this connects directly to what we've been exploring in a couple of the recent episodes. The autopilot, the invisible patterns, the way life can look completely fine from the outside while something important drifts. So if you caught episodes 453 and 459, you know what I'm talking about. But here's where today's episode, number 461, takes it somewhere new. Because once you see the coasting in your life, once you really let that in, the question becomes, then what? And this is where the queen of your brain domain concept has grown for me. It's no longer just about managing your thoughts. It's about leading your life moment by moment while you're actually in it, in the present moment. And I think about this now in 3 parts. The first one is to notice. Not just noticing your thoughts, but noticing your life, your patterns, where time is going, what you're rushing through, what you actually haven't looked at in a while. Like for me, realizing 3 years went by, I still can't believe that happened. Now, the second thing is to interrupt it. And this is the queen energy. You don't just observe, you step in. You create a little space between your habit and your next choice. You question what's been running on automatic. Got it? So the first is to notice, the second is to interrupt, and the third is to amplify. And you've heard me talk about amplification several times over the course of the podcast, but this is the part that is really deepened for me. This is the upgrade. Amplify doesn't mean fixing what's wrong. It means expanding what's right. When you notice something meaningful, something that feels real and alive, instead of noticing it and moving on, you stay with it. You let it matter. And you let yourself actually be in it. Now, I've been using the phrase radical amazement to describe this. And I want to be really clear. I didn't come up with that idea, radical amazement. It comes from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, a theologian and a philosopher whose writing I find genuinely moving. He said, and I quote, "Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed." So, I love that. And I've brought it into my work because it captures something I wasn't finding words for on my own. Radical amazement isn't a bunch of gratitude lists, although gratitude practice is very important. It's deeper and more active than that. It's the practice of choosing to be genuinely amazed for your actual life on purpose, especially when it's easy not to be. So let me give you some real examples because this lands much better in real life than in theory. This spring, I was outside setting up my garden, as one does, especially when you have a cold climate. So exciting when the weather gets nice. So I turned around and I almost stepped on a small snake out of nowhere. I have no idea where he came from. And by the time I grabbed my phone to take a picture, he had completely disappeared back into the grass, gone, like he was never even there. I just stood there thinking, where did he even come from? How did he vanish like that, so fast? And then a few days later, I filled up my bird bath and fountain. You may know, as a regular listener, I have a solar-powered fountain in my bird bath that makes me so happy. So I set it up, and the very next day, 2 orioles showed up. Orioles, I almost never see them. And there they were, splish-splashing around like they owned the place. And I thought, how did they even know it was there? It was so fast that they found it. Small things, ordinary backyard things, but I stayed with them. I let myself be genuinely curious and delighted. And that's what radical amazement looks like on a regular Tuesday. Here's another example. With the weather getting better, thank goodness, especially when you're in a cold climate in the winter, when it gets better, it gets so exciting. I love to walk to run some of my errands. So I've been walking as much as I can, sometimes to go to the place, and that's all I do is just run the errand. And sometimes I put the place on my route. And to my genuine delight, there's a bubble tea place close enough to include on my walking itineraries. So great. So I went, first time of the season, and I ordered passion fruit bubble spark tea with the tapioca balls. Now, I always go blank on that word, by the way, tapioca. I have no idea why, but it's so embarrassing just standing there staring at the woman taking my order. The word is gone. So I made myself a little mnemonic. Tap dancing. Now, you might be wondering, what does tap dancing have to do with tapioca? Well, not much, except it starts with T. So I thought, I can remember tap dancing, and I can remember walking to the store, tea, tapioca. So anyway, I gave it a try because those wonderfully weird, chewy little balls that I find myself completely focused on every single time, they're worth a little extra work. So I was just there, warm spring day, a good walk, tap dancing tapioca, not mentally halfway through my to-do list, not already thinking about what's next, just focusing, being present, and amplifying something I really enjoy. Oh yeah, and I recently replaced my sneakers. Here's another example, which sounds like nothing, but the difference in my step on a regular daily walk was genuinely noticeable and joyful. Something so completely ordinary, and yet when I actually paid attention to it, I couldn't stop noticing it. A spring in my step. We hang on to our sneakers longer than we should, right? At least I do. I don't know about you, but I think it's common. We hang on to a lot of things longer than we should, and sometimes the upgrade is really that straightforward. Now, before I go to the next example that taught me this most deeply, I want to acknowledge something. Many of you know my dog. You know about my dog. He's been woven into the show for years. Nico the Noof, episodes, interviews, stories. He was a 135-pound Newfoundland, and he was an absolutely extraordinary member of our family. So, I have sad news. He passed away in late April, and we miss him terribly. I've been quiet about this on the podcast until now. I did send an email to my community, but it felt right to mention it here in this episode because of the story I'm about to share. It's one I'm so glad that I have. I knew I couldn't get through this, but I am committed to share this story. For years, I had a habit of rushing through his morning feeding. I had things to do. I wanted a strong start to the day. So I'd get him fed quickly and move on. And then he got sick. He got cancer, actually. One morning, I caught myself doing it again, moving fast, not really present, and something stopped me. I slowed down. I watched him. I thought about how happy he was in that moment, just because I was there, just because food was coming. So I let myself feel grateful. I let myself slow down, let it go, and really be present with him. It became one of the best parts of my day. A slow, genuinely lovely start to the morning that I'd been rushing through for years without even really seeing it. So I'm so glad I made that change, especially now that he's gone. That's radical amazement. That's what Amplify actually means in real life. You don't wait for your life to feel meaningful. You participate in making it meaningful right now with what's already right in front of you. So here's why all of this matters, more specifically at this stage of life. Time starts to feel different. You've probably noticed this. It might not be panicky, but it's awareness. It's a steady sense that this part of your life matters, that how you spend your days matter. And once you really feel that, coasting stops being something you can just live with. The 3 years that went by, that registers a little differently when you're in your late 50s and 60s, right? It doesn't feel the same as it would have in your 30s because now you understand in a way that you didn't before that time isn't just passing. Your time is passing. And the queen of your brain domain, that 2026 version, she's the woman who doesn't let that happen by default anymore. So when I say be the queen of your brain domain, here's what I mean now. You're not just the observer of your thoughts. You are the leader of your life. The woman who lives that way doesn't wait for her life to feel meaningful. She notices what's real. She doesn't rush past the snake in the garden or the Orioles at the bird bath or the quiet morning with her dog. She interrupts what's become automatic. The 3 years, the sneaker she should have replaced, the relative she keeps meaning to visit. And she amplifies what matters on purpose while she's still in it. She doesn't do this perfectly because nobody does, but she does it more and more, and that's enough. That's really the point. Just do it more and more. That's enough. So if you're listening to this and recognizing yourself somewhere in it, maybe it's in the 3 years, maybe it's the rushing, maybe it's the bubble tea or the sneakers, or maybe it's the sense that there are moments you've been moving past without really being in them, being present, please take that seriously. That recognition is what I'm talking about. It's your noticing. That's the queen waking up. So if you'd like support with this, I offer something called a next chapter direction session. It's a focused conversation where we take a real look at what's actually going on in your life, what you may not be seeing, and what needs to change so you can start moving forward with more clarity and intention. And you can book yours at www.talktosusie.com. All right, my friend, that's the upgrade. Being the queen of your brain domain now is not about controlling your mind. It's about leading your life, noticing what's actually happening, interrupting what's automatic, and staying present long enough to experience what's already right in front of you. The snake in the grass, the orioles at the bird bath, the tap dancing tapioca, the dog who was just so happy you were there. Your life is already full of this. The question is whether you're in it. Whether you are in it. So thanks so much for being here today. I know it was a little heavy in there, but we got through it. It genuinely means so much to me that you spend your time with me on the podcast. It was my job to try to find you. Like, that's really what I'm doing, right? As a coach, I got to find the people who need my help. So it worked. If you're listening today, I found you. Yay. For show notes and links, head to www.susierosenstein.com and look for episode 461. And don't forget to check out the Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs. That's my other show, all about the reality of running a business as a midlife woman. It's everywhere you listen to podcasts, all the places. Being the queen of your brain domain is still the best way to be. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.